Mutual office hours for wisdom. I ask unplanned, general, and specific questions for your wisdom, and you ask me. In the meantime, we share openly, likely from whatever is happening, to get at our wisdom. So, if you'll excuse me with this hoodie here. So what's going on for everybody this week? What kind of wisdom have you learned? What kind of wisdom do you need? For me, the things that have, it's been rainy here the last couple days, and what's been on my mind when I was like, well, what am I going to talk about here? Control, I feel, is something very interesting to notice. And what do you guys think of when you think of control? What have you learned about control? What do you think you need to learn about it? How have you applied? So speaking of control, my Firefox just crashed for the third time. Probably should be using Chrome, but I was talking about control and what kind of wisdom is around control. Because in an ultimate sense, there really is no control from what I can gather. Now, there's a seeming sense of agency, right? There's this seeming sense that we have choice. But just because we choose something doesn't mean that we control it, right? So what do people know about choices versus control? One thing I realized early on was control had a correlation to depression for me, actually, or very sadness. I think it was this constant drive to control things that kind of led to a sadness. I don't know exactly how to put it, but I think it was this deeper understanding later on that no matter how much I try to control things on the external, for it to make me happy and feel, needed and powerful, that eventually I'm not going to be able to control all the external conditions like I want them to be. And then when I expect that I can control my external conditions all the time, then when I'm not able to, well, then that's a setup for disappointment, even devastation a lot of times. So, but how do we do this without completely falling? And then I think because of that, not realizing that, then fell into a sadness as well. Not being okay with not being able to control things the way I wanted them to be. So what's the solution to this? Or how do we view this and approach this? For me, it comes around expectations too. Just the wisdom of aligning with the truth that we can't control our external conditions all the time the way we want them. And so not getting surprised when something comes along where we can't have it the way we want it. Just being in alignment with that truth, knowing that truth, and then expectations, not really setting any expectations. You can still have goals. But for me, expectations are set up for disaster, especially when they don't get met. Even if some expectations do get met, is that going to do it for us? I mean, is that going to provide ultimate lasting happiness when our expectations do get met? In my experience, no. It just leads on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Still with the equal amount of disaster of when expectations don't get met. So again, what have you learned around expectations and control and wisdom? How do you guys feel when you don't set expectations? How do you feel when expectations do get met? And how long does that last? What about when they don't get met? And what are some of the alternatives to setting expectations? How much of a sense do you have that you're in control of things? Is it exhilarating, exciting when you lose control? Is it exhilarating and exciting when you take control and have control? Is it a complete illusion? Or is there some sense of agency? Because there does seem like we have a sense of agency from time to time. And it seems like people in greater places of power, supposedly sometimes, worldly power, seem to have more of a sense of agency, like they can do more than other people, right? Not to compare anything, but is this really the case, though? Do they? Or is this... And then what about our past actions? Maybe what seems like someone is in control or has a greater sense of agency, maybe these are just an effect of past actions happening. How does that factor in the deeper notions around karma, action, and fruit of past actions? Richard says, expectations are the building blocks to disappointment. Yes, that's a great way to put it, because it's like we're building something with them, right? But it's like castles made of sand, right? They just, quote Jimi Hendrix, fall into the sea eventually, right? Well, this notion of control, has anyone else experienced kind of sadness around either a lack of control or having a sense of a control not being there when one wants it to be? The other thing, Richard says, I do have a positive expectation regarding life and am generally happier. Now, Richard, tell me more about this positive expectation regarding life. So, in a way, the way I interpret this for myself is that, when the positive comes around in my life, I can, if I'm there present, I can enjoy it, right? I don't expect it to be positive all the time. I know that positive moments are going to come and go, just like negative moments are going to come and go too. So it's for me, it's being able to be fully present and enjoy the positive moments in life without having to cling on to them, crave more and more, and then get upset and devastated when they leave, and also deny negative moments. And then on the same end, on the other hand, when negative things are in life, if there's enough presence and mindfulness and willingness, for me, I see the wisdom in not denying or looking away, pretending that negativity doesn't exist, but being with it with the full knowledge that this too is going to come and go just like positivity does. It's not going to be like this forever. And so instead of trying to grab hold of it in order to push it away because it's unpleasant, can it be possible? Can there be the benefit in being with negativity without giving it extra attention and energy, but just know that this is a natural part of life too, and it goes away. Also, our perception around positive and negativity, right? Can there be more of a neutral, neither positive nor negative, or something we once might thought was negative is now less negative, or something we might think is positive is now maybe more positive or less positive, depending on our perception and our ability to be satisfied or content or not. So all these different things can change with training and with age and wisdom. Well, not necessarily age, but wisdom. Well, sometimes age, sometimes not, though. Okay. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, pronouncing the name Alka, A-L-K-A. Communication helps to have your expectations met. Then the other at least knows and meet them if at all possible, or else they can help you to understand why they can't meet it. Okay, and then Alka says, it is difficult to have no expectations at all of the time. Communication leads to clarity and understanding. This is a really good point, Alka. If we all start from where we're at, even though some of us can see a potential benefit of having less expectations, right? Doesn't mean we're all there, and that's possible to go from 0 to 100 all at once, or from 100 to 0, maybe I should say. And this is right. So being realistic with where we're at and not trying to kid and pretend and deny, lie to ourselves about how we have, if there's expectations we have, that's okay. We can love the one that has expectations and the one that wants to have less expectations, or experiment with having less expectations. And then yeah, I think another good self-inquiry question is, why am I setting this expectation? Or what's the point and what's the purpose of this expectation? Could I be okay with setting this as a goal? How does this feel and when I get it met? How does it feel when it's not getting met? Is this actually a need or is this a want? Is this a desire or is this something of my kind of basic needs that I need to be okay with myself and the world? Or could I do with something else? Or what if I only had this expectation met partially? Would I be okay with that too? But overall here, the communication is the point Alka's making. I think this is really great because, especially when it comes to relationships and partnerships, if we don't know what's going on, we can't. Same way with anything with truth, right? If we don't know what the truth is, then there's really no chance of changing anything or addressing anything, taking action on anything if we don't know the truth behind it. Here it's almost 15 minutes already, and I was going to maybe talk about past lives, and maybe I'll just say really briefly that I was thinking about this past life recall and why I haven't had any ones that I would say, yes, this is a definitive past life. I wrote this short article on my site about kind of the pitfalls and downsides of trying to discern what is or isn't a past life memory. One of the things that came to me was maybe if I had them right now, it would build up too much extra ego that's not necessary, that's not helpful. And maybe I got some feedback too that maybe if there was a past life where I was abusing power or something, then it could lead to wanting to crave for power again or a misuse of power as well. So there's so many reasons, but I have no idea really, but it was interesting. So maybe we can talk about that in another Open Wednesday. I've got other news really quick before I leave here. Could be over a little bit. There's a new course on Insight Timer that I put out that I've worked really long time on, years, and it's called Progressive Breath Awareness Booster. So whatever breath practices you guys are using, are doing, or into, or exploring, this is going to help them get even more benefit out of them. And if you don't have any at all, it'll help start some of these. It's broken up into questions, perceptions, and practice ideas. So questions for contemplation, all these things you've likely never heard anywhere else. Perceptions, different ways to view the breath that might go deeper than you once know and get an added dimension to it. And then practice ideas, some things you can try out in your own practices, either augmenting them or subtly tweaking them or trying something completely new as well. So if you're already a Plus member on Insight Timer Live, it's available freely to you. If not, I think the Insight Timer is asking, $20 for it. If anybody can't afford it and really, really wants it, just reach out to me and we'll work something out. So hope you all join that and look at that and benefit from that and ask questions either here in the classroom. So enough self-promotion. I was going to ring this bell. I finally got a hand-hammered, I guess it's a Tibetan singing bowl for a meditation bell, that I'll have, at least in Denmark, I guess, sometimes. Smaller one, more portable. All right, enough goofing around and looking at me and hearing me promote things, right? So thank you all for joining and sharing your wisdom. And I appreciate the positive outlooks and the realistic ways and ways of viewing and talking about expectations. And of course, the key is more open communication. It's interesting on this platform, though, it's kind of more one way, which is okay. I mean, there's roles for teachers too, even though I don't really consider myself a teacher more than just something, sharing and dialoguing and whatnot, but can also do that as well. So may you all be well, happy, joyful, and peaceful. May you all realize awakening and be free. May all beings everywhere realize awakening and be free.